Hi students, very good morning all. Welcome back to Sri Ramanuja Vidya Mandir. Today I am going to explain about the female reproductive system. Students, in the previous class I have explained about the introduction of the reproduction and I gave about male reproductive system, and today I am going to start female reproductive system, then I'll give about the fertilization also. Let us start today's class, students. I said no, female reproductive system. See the picture which is present on the slide, which is showing the female reproductive system. Here, and it is mainly responsible for it plays very important role in the production and the transportation process of ovum. The main reproductive organs in our reproductive system is, female reproductive system is a pair of ovaries. So students, these are a pair of ovaries. Here, these are a pair of ovaries which are present in the female reproductive system. Here, our female reproductive system consists of organ that plays very crucial role in the production, transportation of gametes and the process of ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, birth and child care and production of sex hormones. So, all these are the different tasks performed by the female reproductive system, and our female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries, oviduct, uterus and the vagina. Students, these are the pair of ovaries. One is on left side and other one is on right side. And this is the ovary duct. And this is a pipe-like structure or a tube-like structure which is going to connect ovary with the ovaries. See, the ovary with the uterus, and this is the uterus, students. At the center, a cavity-like structure is there. Uterus, that is, it's a muscular bag-like structure, and next important part is vagina. Students, at the center we are having the uterus. It's a muscular bag-like structure. So it opens into this uterus is spear-shaped structure, students. Upper part of seems to be a little bit broad, whereas when come to the down it becomes narrow and it is opening into the cervix and then to the vagina. The end part of the lower part of vagina is known as cervix. And next to this we have the vagina. See students, this is the ovary, and this is one ovary is on left side and other ovary is on right side. So students, here this tube-like structure is the oviduct, and this oviduct is also known as fallopian tube. It is also, oviduct is also named as fallopian tube. Understand? Right. And see students, at the end of the oviduct, so there is a connecting point with the ovary. So is it having the small finger-like projections, that is fimbriae. Fimbriae. So what are the main parts of our female reproductive system, students? Uterus, ovaries, cervix, vagina, oviduct, also known as fallopian tubules, and the fimbriae. These are the main parts which are present in the female reproductive organ. And let us talk about the ovaries. Understand, students, this is the ovary, right? And ovaries are oval-shaped organs located in the lower part of abdominal cavity. So these are what is the shape of the ovary, students? Oval shaped. organs. So you just see the picture, students, here. So these are the oval shaped organs which are located in the abdominal cavity. Each ovary contains some thousands of eggs. So this will develop into the ovum. See, students, each ovary contains eggs, and which is later on develops into the ovum. Normally, only one egg matures in each ovary every alternative months. See, when the menstruation cycle starts for a girl baby, so there is a release of ovum from the ovaries. So I said no, there are 2 ovaries in the female reproductive system. So alternative months they are going to release their ovum. The ovum, it is nothing but the female gamete. Female gamete. And it is much larger than the sperms in the size. Actually, so male gamete is sperm cell, as you know very well, and whereas female gamete is ovum. The size of female gamete is much larger than the size of the sperm cell, and it is non-motile and laden with the different types of energy rich materials like yolk, glycogen, proteins accumulated in its cytoplasm. Students, it is non-motile. It cannot move from one place to other place, whereas sperm cell is motile. It moves, right? And it requires the energy rich materials such as like yolk, glycogen, proteins accumulated in the cytoplasm. See, students, this is the ovum structure. We have this is a ovum is nothing but the cell. It is filled with the cytoplasm, and at the center it is having the nucleus, students, right? And it is enclosed by one or more egg envelopes. Size of ovum varies in different animals and depending upon amount of the yolk. See, student, the size of ovum varies in different animals. That depends upon the size of yolk. The ovum travels from the ovary to the fallopian tube. See, students, I said no, ovum is going to produced here by the ovaries. Ovaries are going to release the ovum by the process. These ovaries releases ovum by the process of ovulation. The release of ovum by the ovaries, ovulation. See, students, they used to release the ovary worm into the fallopian tube or oviduct, and the ovum travels from the ovary to the fallopian tube where it may be fertilized before reaching the uterus. The ovaries are then main sources of female sex hormones and which control the development of female body characteristics such as development of the breast, body shape, body hair. The main hormones are estrogen, progesterone. They also regulate the menstruation cycle and the pregnancy. Students, see this. Apart from this releasing of the egg, these are also responsible for the release of the hormones. Okay, what are those? Progesterone, and the next important hormone is estrogen. Understand? Whereas male sex hormone is, students, testosterone, whereas female sex hormones are progesterone and the estrogen. Understand? And all these hormones helps for the development of the secondary sexual characters in the female body, like development of the breast and change in the body shape and development of the hair. Next, and these hormones also regulates the menstruation cycle and the pregnancy. There are a lot of events are going to take place in the reproductive system during the pregnancy as well as the menstruation cycle. All these things are influenced by the hormones such as like our progesterone and estrogen. This is the structure of ovum, students. Ovum is released by the ovaries. So in our female reproductive system, a pair of ovaries are present in the abdominal cavity of the female body. I said a pair of, okay, one is on left side and other one is on right side. So this ovary, when it is get matured, it is going to release the ovary. The process of release of ovum from the ovary is known as ovulation. Understand? See, that process is known as ovulation. Ovum is nothing but the female gamete. The size of the female gamete is much larger than the size of the male gamete. Male gamete here is sperm cell. So our ovum is non-motile. It cannot move from one place to other place, and it is having the rich energy supplement energy sources such as yolk, proteins, and the glycogen. Understand? And the reason is that for the proper development and fertilization process, ovum needs more energy, and it is enclosed by one or more egg envelopes. The size of ovum varies in the different animals, and ovum travels across the fallopian tube to reach the uterus. See students, this ovum, whatever ovum is released by the ovaries, it is going to accumulate in our oviduct, and then it is going to, if it is fertilized, it is going to settle in the uterus. And let us talk about the oviduct. So far what we discussed, students, we discussed about the ovaries and about ovum we discussed, and now we are going to discuss about the other important parts of our female reproductive system, like oviduct. It is also known as fallopian tube, and about the uterus and the vagina. So these are the main important parts. Students, let us talk about the oviduct. See students, this oviduct is also known as fallopian tube. Fallopian tube or oviduct. It is a tube-like structure, students. See, you just see the picture on the board, right? So these are the tube-like structures. So this is the oviduct, and which carries egg from the ovary to the uterus. So whatever egg is released by the ovaries, and it receives that ovum, and it is going to carry that egg into the uterus. And each oviduct is differentiated into 4 parts: infundibulum, ampulla, isthmum, and uterine part. See that, students. This is the fallopian tube I said. This fallopian tube is divided into 4 major parts. What are those? The first one is infundibulum. Very important, students. And the next part is ampulla. Third one, isthmus. Fourth important point is uterine part. Okay, infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, and uterine part. So these are the major parts of our oviduct or fallopian tube. Next, uterus. It is also known as womb. See, the central part is, students, uterus. The central part, it is pear-shaped structure, and it is a hollow pear-shaped muscular organ and contains developing fetus. Fetus will be present in the uterus. Uterus is the site for implantation of pre-embryo and for the subsequent embryonic and fetal development. Actually, after the fertilization, so the zygote develops into a new embryo, and that is going to implanted or settled in the uterus, and in the uterus itself this embryo develops and become into the fetus. And it has 2 regions: upper wider portion which receives the 2 oviducts, and the lower narrow portion is called cervix. See students, I said it is a pear-shaped like structure. The upper wider portion is going to receive the oviduct of both the sides, and the lower narrow part is known as cervix, and it is going to opens into the vaginal canal. This is the structure of uterus. It is very important part of our female reproductive system, and it helps in the implantation of the embryo as well as development of the fetus in the mother's womb. So uterus is also known as womb. Next important part is vagina. Then it is the lowermost part of the female reproductive system. It receives penis during the sexual intercourse and is the site where sperms are deposited in the vagina, and the vagina is connected to the uterus at the cervix. So it is the site of receiving of the sperm cell from the male reproductive system, and after that whatever the sperm cell it is received and it sends to the cervix, then to the uterus. So through this way sperm cell enters into the female reproductive system and it is going to reach the oviduct. Here we can see the process of fertilization. This is about the structures of oviduct and the uterus and the vagina. And one more important point about vagina, students. Vagina also serves as the birth canal by the structure which allows the delivery during the childbirth. And so not only childbirth, it also helps in the menstrual flow exists by the body through the vagina only. So during the menstruation period, so the menstruation flow is going to sent out by the body simply through the vaginal canal, and vagina supports the childbirth and it is also helps in the process of elimination of the waste, that is menstrual flow from the body. Next, let us talk about the fertilization. Students, so far I have covered the female reproductive system, and now I am going to concentrate on the fertilization process. Very, very important process, students. And fertilization is the process where sperm cell fuse with the ovum to form a single celled zygote, that is single celled one, that is zygote. See students, I said male is going to sperm cell and this is the male gamete, right? And students, and next female, it is going to release the ovum and this one is the female gamete, and so when these two things will fuse together, the process of fusion is known as fertilization. And by the fusion, what you will get? A single celled cell, that is zygote, and this zygote is in 2n condition. This zygote shows 2n condition. And in the human, fertilization process most often occurs in the sexual intercourse, takes place during the human's fertile and the ovulation period. Sperms released inside the vagina travel towards the uterus to fallopian tube to seek out the egg. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of our sperm cell may enter into by the process of ejaculation, but only one gets its penetrate into the egg and it starts fertilization process. Like sperms are capable of staying alive nearly 48 to 72 hours inside the female reproductive system, and it can be fertilized and egg soon as ovulation takes place. Hence the fusion of egg nuclei with the sperm nuclei is called fertilization. Students, just look at the picture. And this is the ovaries, they'll release egg cell, and the testes, they are going to release the sperm cell. This is the structure of egg and this is the structure of sperm cell. And when they'll fuse together, we'll get finally what we are getting? We are getting a zygote. Okay, understand? This is about the fertilization. There is a fusion of two nuclei of egg as well as the sperm cell, and they'll combine each other to form a zygote. And another diagram which is showing about the sexual reproduction. See students, male sperm cell, female egg. So when they'll fuse together, it will be forming the zygote, students. And then this zygote later on develops into embryo. again this embryo which develops into the baby, human baby will come. Okay, the zygote is fertilized ovum or fertilized egg. See students, this zygote is known as fertilized ovum or also known as fertilized egg. It is the beginning of the new individual. In the multicellular organisms, it is earliest developmental stage of embryo and single-celled organisms. Students, I said the common unique feature of every living creature is, so every living creature starts its life with a single cell. That single cell is nothing but the zygote. The zygote divides to produce offspring usually through the process of cell division. Now this zygote undergoes repeated cell division. So by the process of cell division, it develops into a complete organism. So finally, we will get a human baby. So this is about the process, actual fertilization process in our female reproductive system. And see the students, this is the structure of ovum. Every human body gets half of its genes from each parent. Therefore, it inherits some of the features from the mother and from the father. So that is why all kinds of characters, for example, height, run in the families. And students, actually there is a fusion of two nuclei set. But in the process of fertilization, there is a fusion of two nucleus from the two different sources. One is from the sperm cell and other one is from the ovum. Due to this fusion, what will happen? There is a combination of the two different genetic materials from two different sources. So as a result, there will be every human body gets half of its genes from the mother as well as half of the genes from the father. So that is the reason. So the offspring may used to have both the characters. Okay, and so in some cases it may have some new characteristics. Okay, that is the genetic variations we can expect in the sexual reproduction, I said. So the major difference between the sexual and asexual reproduction is, students, in the sexual reproduction we can observe the genetic variations, whereas genetic variations are not at all observed in the asexual reproduction. The reason is that in the asexual, so only single parent is there. That single parent is responsible for the formation of the offspring, whereas in the sexual reproduction, so there are participation of two individuals. So obviously there is a combination of the two genetic materials from the two different sources. Obviously we can expect a variation, genetic variations in the coming child. And see students, that is about the fertilization and how the twins are going to form. And twins are two offsprings produced by the same pregnancy. So in single pregnancy, if the two individuals bond, there will get means that is called twins. The zygote or fertilized egg is a single cell. Sometimes a fertilized egg splits into two and each half develops into an embryo. So sometimes what will happen, students? Okay, egg and sperm cell, right? In some cases, by the fusion we'll get the zygote. Sometimes single fertilized egg splits into two. Some cases what will happen? This zygote splits into two. It divides into two, and by the splitting process we'll get two cells from the single zygote. Okay, this results in the formation of identical twins. If the fertilized egg splits into three or more parts, each of it develops into embryo, then all of offspring produced will be identical twins. So as a result, so if the babies are from the same zygote, we'll get identical twins, monozygotic twins will call. And if are from the different zygotes, so there is a chance of two different zygotes in some cases, so they are dizygotic zygotic twins, and then in such case we'll get non-identical twins. See students, you just look at the first picture. First I'll explain about the identical. It is also known as monozygote. In such case, what will happen? There is a fusion of sperm cell with the egg cell, then we'll get a zygote. So this is the zygote. Students, this is the zygote. When this zygote splits into two with two different nuclei, and these are going to develop into two individuals. So simply they'll be sharing the same placenta, and so here we'll get identical twins. Next, in the next case, what will happen? So two different zygotes will be forming. So there are two sperm cells we're going to combine with the two different ovoms. So in such case, there are two zygotes will be. There is a reason dizygotic condition. Fraternal children will come here. So two embryos will be, and at last two different cells. Okay, see, identical twins, simply they are sharing the same placenta, and okay, but they'll be having the separate amniotic fluids. And in the case of this non-identical, they'll be having the different placenta. Fraternal twins. Now here you just see. Okay, one zygote, its fertilized egg splits into two, forms two embryos. Then again two embryos will be separatedly. We'll get two identical twins. And here if two eggs fuse with the two different sperm cell, and then we'll get two embryos, then they are fraternal. Okay, so here we'll get identical. These are non-identical. So identical is also known as monozygotic, and non-identical is also known as dizygotic twins. So this is about the fertilization, students. And in our lesson, today's lesson, we have seen so many topics. That is, first one is I explained about the female reproductive system and different parts which are present in the female reproductive system I explained. After that, I explained also about the fertilization process. Then I concluded the topic with the twins. So very interesting, and once again you just watch the videos, and then you can understand the video very well. And one more important point, students, you need to practice the diagrams. Okay, female reproductive system as well as the male reproductive system. So when you'll get a clarity on the diagram, obviously you can understand the structure and you can write with your own points. So main here, understanding is very important. So please don't by heart blindly. Okay, first give importance to the structures. Okay, draw the diagrams minimum 2 or 3 times. When you'll get perfection about the diagrams, obviously you can have an idea about the different structures and their roles and their functions, everything. So obviously you can write the particular question, or you can answer the particular bits very easily. Okay students, that's all for today. Thank you so much. Thank you all.